right, so today we're going to dive into something pretty wild. The clash between how Silicon Valley thinks about efficiency, like move fast and break things, and the complexities of American government. Specifically, we're looking at what happened with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, back in early 2025.
Yeah, DOGE, it definitely caused some serious waves.
It did.
You had a billionaire basically tasked with making the entire U.S. government more efficient.
Yeah.
And then 21 government employees ended up resigning in protest. And then Musk himself lost a ton of money. Like, it actually made a dent in his wealth. So we're going to unpack all that.
Yeah, and the big question for me is, what happens when you take that Silicon Valley mindset, that kind of rapid disruption, and try to apply it to these massive systems that, millions of Americans rely on every single day?
Yeah, it's this tension between, wanting things to be streamlined and cheaper versus making sure that public services are working for everybody fairly and securely.
So to understand what happened, we got to go back to the beginning. So January 2025, President Trump signs this executive order and creates the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
DOGE.
Yeah. Now, it wasn't like a typical cabinet-level department, more like an advisory group. But their goals were huge, slash government spending, consolidate hundreds of agencies, save trillions, eliminate fraud. It was a very ambitious to-do list.
Absolutely. And to lead this charge, they bring in Elon Musk, right? The guy who's known for doing things big and fast.
Right. And he's coming in as this unpaid special government employee for a max of 130 days. And his whole thing was make America efficient again. Yeah. And so you can imagine the reaction, right? Some people were like, yeah, efficiency, who's against that? But then there were others who were like, hold on, this guy's got companies, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink X, that all do business with the government. How's this going to work?
Huge conflict of interest questions right out of the gate.
Exactly. And Musk kind of brushed those concerns aside, but it was definitely there from the start.
Oh, yeah.
So Musk puts together his DOGE team, and it's this interesting mix, right? You've got these young, super talented tech people, straight from Silicon Valley, Google, Apple, you name it.
Yeah, the best and the brightest.
Right. And they're all about that move fast, break things mentality. But then you've also got these veteran government tech people from the U.S. Digital Service.
Oh, yeah. USDS. They're the folks who've been in the trenches of government IT for years. They know where all the bodies are buried, so to speak.
Exactly. They understand these systems are super complex and interconnected. You can't just come in and rewrite the code for Social Security over a weekend. You got to be careful. But Musk's recruits were like, why not?
Yeah, a complete clash of cultures. There's this story that went around about a USDS person freaking out because the DOGE team wanted to basically rebuild the Social Security system in a few days. And they were totally ignoring all these regulations.
Yeah, stuff around food safety, FSMA compliance. I mean, these things affect people's lives.
Yeah, you can't just disrupt everything without thinking about the consequences.
Right. And then there was this whole thing about DEI programs, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The DOGE team was like, these are wasteful, let's cut them. But DEI is a tiny fraction of the budget.
So it kind of made you wonder what their real priorities were. Was it really just about efficiency, or was there something else going on?
And then Musk drops this bomb. He calls it Government 2.0. And he starts asking some pretty fundamental questions like, do we even need a Department of Education at the federal level? Or housing, or transportation, or energy?
Basically questioning the entire structure of the U.S. government.
Right, and the USDS veterans were like, hold up, these aren't just ideas on a whiteboard. These departments are created by laws passed by Congress. You can't just erase them with an executive order.
Exactly. There's a whole process for this stuff. It's not as simple as just saying, I don't like this department anymore.
So things get really tense. Musk's team starts demanding tons of data. They're building algorithms to find inefficiencies. And there were even whispers that they were flagging stuff based on, like, political leanings.
If that's true, it's seriously problematic because you're not actually evaluating things fairly.
Meanwhile, Musk goes on social media and starts bragging that they've found, like, over $100 million in pure waste. You know, things like empty buildings and unused software licenses. But in the grand scheme of the federal budget, that's a drop in the bucket.
It's like finding a penny on the sidewalk and saying you're rich.
Right, and then he starts using this term deep state bureaucracy to describe the career civil servants who he sees as, like, blocking progress.
Which is just so dismissive of these people who have dedicated their careers to public service.
Yeah, and to them it felt like they were being attacked just for knowing how things actually work. So this leads us to what we call the 21-day reckoning.
Yeah, things get really intense.
So about 3 weeks after DOGE starts up, the USDS people get called into these surprise interviews. And it's not with other government folks. It's with people connected to Musk, like former VCs, think tank types, even a Tesla executive.
Not exactly your typical government HR process.
And the questions they're asking are wild stuff like, are you committed to President Trump's agenda? Do your political views align? Even stuff like, do you consider yourself woke?
I mean, it's completely illegal to hire or fire federal employees based on their politics.
Totally. And on top of that, they're asking about policy preferences like, do you believe in small government? And then even like, would you be willing to work 5 days a week in the office?
It's like they were trying to weed out anyone who didn't fit a very specific mold.
And Musk keeps hammering on DEI. He claims they've saved $1 billion by cutting DEI contracts, but budget experts are like, no way, that number's way off.
He's like, he was obsessed with it.
Yeah, and then on Valentine's Day of all days, the axe falls.
Ouch.
Yeah, termination of employment emails start going out. About a third of the USDS staff. 21 people are told, you're done, get out. No transition plan, nothing. Just gone.
That's brutal and also incredibly risky.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about people who are in the middle of managing critical systems.
Right, we heard about one woman, Rachel Chen. She was working on a major security upgrade for FEMA's disaster relief payments, like multi-factor authentication, the whole 9 yards. That project just stopped dead.
These are the systems that people rely on when disaster strikes.
Exactly. And then there were concerns about Social Security veterans' benefits, healthcare systems, tax filing. All these vital things were suddenly left without the experts who were keeping them running smoothly.
And then on top of that, they send this email to like 2 million federal employees saying basically justify your job or you might get fired. And it's signed by the DOGE accountability team.
Which, like, who gave them the authority to do that?
Exactly. It created this atmosphere of fear and uncertainty across the entire government.
So the 21 USDS people who were fired, they meet in secret and start drafting a resignation letter. And the main point of the letter isn't like, we hate Musk or we're mad about being fired. It's about these big picture concerns, like what's going to happen to these essential services? What about the security of people's data? What about the public good?
They were putting their duty to the American people above everything else.
And then, as if to underline their point, news breaks about an IRS data breach.
Talk about bad timing. It just shows how vulnerable these systems are if you don't have the right people in place to protect them.
So on February 25th, 2025, all 21 of them resign and they release their letter. And it's a bombshell.
Huge news.
Democrats are calling it a hostile takeover. Republicans are defending Musk. The White House is silent at first, then they try to downplay it. And Musk goes on Twitter and basically says, good riddance, they would have been fired anyway.
Yeah, not exactly a graceful exit.
But here's the interesting thing. Even people in the tech industry start distancing themselves from what Musk was doing. They're like, look, government is not like building an app. This stuff is serious. You need expertise. You need continuity.
These are the systems that underpin our entire society.
And cybersecurity experts are freaking out.
Yeah.
They're like, you just created a bunch of security holes by getting rid of all these experienced people.
Yeah.
This is a national security risk.
And they were right to be concerned.
So these 21 people, they become known as the DOGE 21. And they're suddenly in high demand. Everyone wants to talk to them. Congress wants them to testify. They're getting job offers left and right.
Like suddenly everyone realizes their value.
Meanwhile, Musk keeps doubling down. He's like, government efficiency isn't rocket science. But then he's also cherry-picking examples of so-called waste. Like, there was this whole thing about office furniture for a veterans hospital that got totally blown out of proportion.
It was like he was trying to create a narrative instead of actually solving problems.
And inside DOGE, it's chaos. There are huge gaps in knowledge, people who don't know how these complex systems work. There was this story about a guy they called Chad Hyperloop, who was struggling with COBOL, this old programming language that a lot of government systems still use.
Yeah, it's like they sent a bunch of kids to fix a vintage car without giving them the right tools.
And the real-world effects start piling up. There are delays in veterans benefits errors, in IRS processing problems with FEMA's disaster relief platform.
The irony is that DOGE was supposed to make things more efficient, but it ended up making them worse.
And then here's the kicker. Musk's own businesses start taking a hit. Tesla's stock drops. His personal wealth plummets. Protests start popping up at Tesla dealerships. People are spray painting DOGE on the cars.
It's like the whole thing backfired on him spectacularly.
And then the lawsuits start coming. Labor unions, environmental groups, privacy advocates, they're all going after DOGE.
The whole thing became a legal nightmare.
So by mid-March, there are rumors that Musk is trying to find a way out. He's frustrated with the bureaucracy. He's worried about his businesses.
It seems like he underestimated just how hard it would be to change the government.
And then in April, he announces he's leaving DOGE at the end of May. He says it's because of the 130-day limit for special government employees.
But I think he was just looking for an excuse to get out.
The White House tries to spin it like it was always the plan, but it's clear they're scrambling. DOGE without Musk is a whole different ballgame. Tesla stock keeps tanking, public opinion turns against DOGE, and even Trump starts distancing himself from the mess.
The whole thing kind of imploded.
And the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, they do a preliminary assessment and they're like, okay, DOGE maybe identified some potential savings, but the disruptions they caused actually ended up costing money.
So not exactly a success story.
So what happened to the DOGE 21? Well, they landed on their feet. Some went to the private sector, some went to nonprofits, some became professors, some even went to work for state governments.
Their expertise was in high demand.
And they all kept working on making things better, more efficient, more accessible.
Yeah, they were committed to public service no matter where they ended up.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a question for you, the listener. Did this whole DOGE saga make Americans think more deeply about what they want from their government? Is it just about saving money? Or is it about something more? Is it about making sure that essential services are reliable and effective?
I think it definitely sparked a conversation, a very heated conversation about what it means to have an efficient government and whether that Silicon Valley mindset can really work in the public sector.
Yeah, because it's not just about moving fast and breaking things. It's about people's lives.
It's about serving the public good.
Exactly. So that's the story of DOGE. It's a cautionary tale, a reminder that government is complex and that sometimes the best intentions can lead to unintended consequences. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.
See you then.